This is a very quick revision of forfeiture of shares and reissue of forfeited shares. You need to remember this that this is a quick overview with some shortcuts, not a detailed explanation, only for end moment revision. Forfeiture means you're cancelling capital. When you create capital, your capital account is credited. When you cancel the capital, your capital account is debited. You will only create capital with the called up amount. You will only create capital with the called up amount. And you are going to cancel the capital also with the called up amount. When you're canceling the capital, that means you're forfeiting the shares. So the journal entry to cancel the capital would always be share capital debit. When you're canceling the shares, forfeiting the shares. If your shares were issued at par and you are cancelling the capital, your share capital will be debited by the called up amount. If your shares were issued at premium and you are cancelling your capital, your share capital would be debited by your called up amount plus the premium amount if you have received it. It is very important that the face value is separate, called up amount is separate. Called up amount is only the amount that you've asked your shareholders to pay you. So when you are forfeiting the shares, the journal entry that you should remember is share capital debit, share forfeiture credit. Capital would be debited by the called up amount. Forfeiture will be credited by the amount received. Now understand over here, if you had called for say 8, share was of 10, you had called up 8. Okay. Since you forfeited the shares, that means you've not received the entire called up amount. If you have not received the entire called up amount, that means the amount received is less. So share forfeiture will be credited by the amount received. And for example purpose, say the amount that you have received is only 6. You called up 8. You received 6. What you did not receive? You did not receive 2. That 2 would be which account? It would be your calls in arrears account. You are cancelling your calls in arrears because you've not received. You debited it. Now you are cancelling the calls in arrears because you are cancelling the shares. So the journal entry for forfeiture would be share capital debit with the called up amount, share forfeiture credit with the amount received, and calls in arrears credit with the amount not received. Now, there are some terms that you need to understand. After forfeiting the shares, you are going to reissue the shares or just cancel the shares. No problem. So, after forfeiting the shares, if you're going to reissue your shares, so there are these two things that they normally ask you. Is the maximum discount that you can give at the time of reissue? And the second thing they ask you, minimum price at which you can reissue. The maximum discount that you can give at the time of reissue is the amount received. This usually comes in MCQ. Minimum price at which you have to reissue is the amount that you have not received. Okay, so this is the connection. Maximum discount would always be the amount received. Maximum discount on reissue would always be the amount received. Minimum price of the reissue would be the amount not received. Now, another concept that is related to amount to be transferred to capital reserve. Before I go to the format that you need to learn when you have to decide the amount to be transferred to capital reserve, let's understand a few things. What is capital reserve? Capital reserve is a capital profit that you make. Okay, say you had a share whose face value was 10. You called up 8. You received 6. You did not receive 2. Maximum discount that you can give is the amount received, and minimum price at which you have to issue is the amount not received. Maximum discount you can give is the amount received, minimum price is the amount not received. Now you have to reissue these shares at the minimum price. That means you have to reissue these shares at 2. But you reissued at 8. Or say you reissued at, your reissue price is 7. Okay? You had to, minimum price for reissue was 2. You reissued at a higher price. That means you have got something extra on reissue. 7 was the reissue price, but you wanted only 2 because you forfeited the shares for not receiving rupees 2. So still you got extra profit of 5 on reissue. This 5 is the amount that has to be transferred to capital reserve. Let's say, for example, okay, I'll take you to a past paper question to decide the amount to be transferred to capital reserve. You need to learn this format to decide the amount to be transferred to capital reserves. Numbers of shares forfeited, face value. Amount received would give you the maximum discount. Amount not received is the minimum price for reissue. Your further calculations would be your reissue price, your minimum price for reissue, extra money that you received on reissue. So whatever extra money you received on reissue would be the reissue price minus the minimum price. You will get the amount to be transferred to capital reserves. I'm doing this with the help of a sum. It is a 6/1/2024 paper. Okay, you would see this in my next video.